Hello, everyone. Welcome to another podcast episode. And today I'm very excited to speak to one of the most influential leaders I've met in the healthcare space. She's really on the cutting edge of really where this whole industry is going. She's seen it all as a C-level executive at Optum. She's been at United Health Group, PE-backed organizations, and really has accomplished some really impressive growth targets and exits with companies. She's really able to make this happen in the healthcare space, which is not easy to do. So I wanted to bring her to the table to share her insight on really what's going on with the healthcare industry. How can you still win and grow your company in that space at this time? So welcome, Madhu Palkar, to the show. It's such a pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you so much, Olivia. This is amazing. I'm super excited to be chatting with you and your audience. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to learn so much from your perspective. So thank you. And I want to just dive right in because this is a big topic with the healthcare space. But, the healthcare space has been working on value-based care for a decade. Is value-based care, from your perspective, working for all?
Yeah, it's funny that's your opening question because, this is something that's very near and dear to my heart. And what I've seen, for the last, almost close to 2 decades, right? The healthcare system has been working on value-based care. And it's become a fashionable term. It's become this word that many companies use to drive their valuations, to talk right with the street. But your real question is it working? It is working for some, I agree, but it isn't working for the majority of the health ecosystem the way the original strategy or the original design was put in case. Now, when you think about value-based care, let's keep the whole complicated words and terminology around payment models and risk management and all of those sort of like super complicated stuff. Let's keep that aside at a moment. Let's think at the core. At the core, what is value-based care? Who is at the epicenter of value-based care? Value-based care at the end of the day is all about ensuring that patients, members, consumers have the best healthcare outcome. They have the best clinical outcome. They have the best experience when it comes to healthcare. And yes, value-based care is about reducing the overall total cost of care, but it is not at the expense of the patient outcome. It is not at the expense of, hey, Madhu, who's going through a health issue, right? She wants and she needs to see a top specialist, and she can't because of the bureaucracy. But hey, if Madhu is, just wanting to go get contraceptives, she doesn't need to see a top specialist. So when and how we ensure our clinical models work, for the patient, we ensure that the cost is managed for the ecosystem. Those decisions have to be specific, and that's the essence of value-based care at a high level.
So what do you think the organizations are missing or what needs to be focused on?
Yes. So in my mind, there are 4 key criteria that healthcare is missing, especially the organizations that haven't cracked the value-based care, the essence of value-based care, if you may. So the first and the foremost is we're really missing the patient. You need an engaged patient. Even if you tell me, Madhu, you need to take these 4 medications at this exact time, right? and you need to go meet with your doctor, at this time, or this is what needs to happen. Even if you tell me all of that as my doctor, Olivia, if I am not engaged, if you are not solving for some of my issues, hey, I might be a single mother who is earning $35,000 a year, or might be doing 8 jobs or 4 jobs or 2 jobs. I don't have time to go meet you at noon or at 1 o'clock or whenever, because I have to go get a job done, or I need to get my child out of, childcare. I don't have childcare support for my child, right? So there are all of those other things that are working. And so when we design healthcare for a patient, we need to think about who she is, who they are, who he or who that individual is. And only when we solve for their journey, for their experience, will we ensure that that they will adhere, they will comply, and they will be engaged in it. At the same time, this will also ensure that their satisfaction is higher, right? The second thing that is missing is sometimes organizations just track service quality. They just say, hey, guess what? I need to be tracking for, did you do these checkups on time, right? We just track for processes, but we don't track for what happens because of that. Are we able to drive outcomes? Is that driving better patient experience? Are we ensuring that they have the right access, the right availability, the health equity aspect of it? And especially if you think about the Medicaid patient, or sort of like older populations in the Medicare segment, right? These are some of the things that are really important, and we need to be tracking those as well, not just the high level quality metrics, and that's about that, right? The third, and a very important element, is we need to redesign the clinical models. What I mean by that, and I sort of alluded it when I first started talking about it, is that as we think about providers, as we think about clinicians, as we think about specialists, they need to be working at the top of their license, right? Again, if I need a contraceptive, I don't need to meet with the most specialized OBGYN, the most senior physician out there. I can meet with a nurse practitioner in his or her their office, right? And they can take care of me. So depending on what my need is, I should be meeting with the right clinician or with the right supporting staff who can address my healthcare need. Similarly, if I need something specialized, if I need, my tubes are tied, and there's the only way for me to get pregnant is to go meet a reproductive endocrinologist, then that's who I should be meeting fastest, right? Then I think the third aspect is underneath this is also access to the right specialist. Is my specialist truly highly ranked? Does he have or does she have a good track record of great clinical outcomes? Or is he just the most cheapest in-network physician, right? So who is providing me that specialty service is equally important, because that will avoid readmissions, right? So I'm getting the right care from the right doctor who knows what they're doing, right? And they are going to avoid that readmission, versus if I go to somebody who is not, they might be qualified, but not be the best, right? So there is that balance that needs to be established. And then the last part, we have all of these automated clinical decision support tools, and those are important. But when we do take a look at them, we can't just say, oh, we're just going to standardize care. Yes, we need to standardize care in that 70-30 aspect, but provide a little bit of flexibility to the clinician so that they can essentially create something more unique for a patient who has different needs, right? So those are sort of like the three things underneath the clinical model. And the last part with value-based care is that it requires investment, it requires discipline, takes time, and the investment is in the infrastructure and the technology. We need tools. We need tools to understand utilization management, how care is being coordinated, the patient data, retrospective, prospective data to understand who is at risk for what, so that you can proactively manage that patient in advance, right? You have to come up with patient management and patient engagement tools for that particular patient segment, right? And so all of this requires investment. So the four biggest things I feel people are missing or not working in a coordinated fashion in conclusion is your patient. Have an engaged patient. Patient is the core. Second, track not just service quality, but also outcomes, patient experience, access, availability. Third is rethink our clinical models. And the last fourth is invest in infrastructure and technology and have a disciplined, KPI-driven approach to it.
This is fantastic. Thank you so much. That's such an in-depth process to really moving towards this model. And you've worked at large healthcare organizations, smaller PE-backed organizations. You've seen it all when it comes to scaling healthcare companies quickly without missing an EBITDA target. I'd love to get your perspective on really what does that look like? How can these organizations scale up quickly without missing targets?
Yeah. So Olivia, the one thing that you will hear in today's conversation about me is that it is all about discipline, whether it is growth, whether it is operations, whether it is managing your patients or your members. It all comes down to discipline. And it doesn't matter whether you're working in a large organization or a small organization. The successful organizations that I've worked with, and I learned a lot at Optum United Health Group, as well as some of the PE-backed organizations I've worked with. The biggest thing that differentiates successful organizations is that they know how to be disciplined, how to pause, how to fix, and then you grow. Let me give you an example. So when I was at Optum Connect, that's how it was branded then. It was Optum's managed care business. So walk in, take over all of the back office operations, all of the back office technology functions, administrative functions, call centers, everything. So walk and take over of all of those operations for either a payer or a provider health system or multi-state providers, if you may. The idea behind it was, let's take what we know best in class at United Health Group and Optum, and let's provide those services for non-UHC clients. So I didn't serve UHC, I served other payers, other providers that sat outside of the ecosystem. Now, I couldn't just take what we had and just go to the Blues plan, which was my very first anchor client, and tell them, this is how we do it at United, at Optum, we're the biggest, and this is how you should do it. We needed to have discipline to understand what their needs were and how did the model that we knew successfully worked would apply to them. So you create a 75-80% of a standardized model with standard ways of ensuring the organizational structure, the workforce model, right? The technology, the vendor management, the cost management. What is that 70 to 80% that's standardized? And what is that 20% that is only applicable
to that client based on their culture, based on where they are in their market or in their market positioning or their market trajectory, right? So you create a model based off of that. We then internally for us said this was a new business that I was launching. I literally had first 2 employees and then grew it to 5,500 over 5 years. We had less, very low in the mid, in the less than 10 million in revenue. And then we grew it to almost close to $1 billion. And the way we did it, and not a single time did we miss our EBITDA target. And UAG is very disciplined about that. So,
Wow.
but the idea behind it, right, was let's take that operating model, let's do it right for that first big anchor client. And when you do it right, then you have, right, pause, then you have the discipline to add new clients. And this is almost like doing an M&A because those teams were coming under me. My team was growing, right? The revenue was growing, the top line was growing. But it's not just about the top line. It is about chasing EBITDA positive growth, right? So that's the discipline aspect as well. The other part that I've seen organizations, especially, PE-backed organizations fail is when they go for M&A for the sake of that, hey, I want to grow. I've, acquired so many practices and they tout that, right? But let's think about that provider you serve, that provider practice you serve. Are you tracking your operational KPIs, right? Are you tracking what are those operational activities that you are doing? Let's get granular. Let's simplify, right? What are those operational activities that you are doing that will ensure that you will create transformation with that client, create an internal transformation, and ensure that you will be able to manage your capacity, their capacity, right? Manage their vendors more effectively, right? So all of those things have to be done well. I'm currently on the board of Mountain Gate Capital's, biomedical company, device company. When we first started, it was very small, and we've scaled it, quite a bit, almost more than 4 times where we started. Now, the biggest thing that, we were very successful and, I've learned from Mountain Gate is that they had that discipline in terms of how to invest in that base infrastructure to fix that model. And then they sort of like added more to scale it up. And this will help you not just from a inorganic growth perspective, but it will also help you as you think about scale from an organic new product, more service, clients for the same service, right? From an organic standard as well. So I think having the discipline, being very KPI based, right? Ensuring that that initially it might sound very attractive to run. It's better to crawl, walk, and run if you want to position your company and your organization for a positive EBITDA growth model.
Absolutely. Wow. There's just so much insight you bring to the table with that perspective at Optum and just doing this over and over again. So, seeing the current market that we're in, it's tough, right? For healthcare organizations to scale and grow, it is not easy. So how should these organizations be thinking about growth right now?
Yes. So when I think, about growth, and again, it comes back to discipline, it comes back to KPI, it comes back to data. When we talk about growth and in a growth function, right? It's great to put a strategy on paper. And as much as, yes, I've been a chief strategy officer for some time in my career, but most of my time I've actually spent owning a P&L, running a P&L, working with clients, and being an operator, and being in that growth function, right? Helping drive more business for the organization. The biggest thing, the filter criteria when I think about growth is I think about growth from a perspective of EBITDA growth. I don't talk about, hey, we grew 100 million in revenue. I talk about our pipeline has how many clients? Maybe 10 clients, 15 qualified clients, whatever that might be. But all of them, what is the EBITDA potential that we have with them? What that does is we are going after clients where we can drive value, we can create an impact, and it acts as a referral business, right? It acts as a growth machine you've created by itself. That's my philosophy at the core when I think about growth. So yes, when in this challenging market, you might, especially if you're looking for an exit, you might think that you want to talk about the right things and you want to grow, and therefore let's go after revenue. Well, I would say that's not the right thing. When you want to grow, go after positive EBITDA clients. If you have a market where you have already created a maturity and you are a key and a major player, and it's hard to create organic growth with that capability or that leadership position that you have, figure out new channels. But even in that new channel, keep your client, your customer at the core. What is the value proposition that you bring to the table? How can you measure that? Because you have client management is really important, and you can't afford to lose an existing client for the sake of new client, right? And I think as you think about growth and as you think about new channels, you also have to think about going into this channel, how much time it is going to take, what is the investment it is going to. So have those pragmatic discussions and those decisions, and make sure your board is aligned with you. Make sure that your board and you are on the same page, right? So that's something that I would tell people as they think about growth. Finally, sometimes I've seen sales organizations work in isolation, and that's a problem. Sales, product, operations, and finance, they all have a place and they need to work together. The other function that is very important as it pertains to healthcare is your risk management / your legal. Don't wait until the very end to bring them to the table, right? So all of these functions have to work together. The sales leader can be at the top, hunting for new deals. But if your product, your ops teams, and your finance and legal are not there with you closely, you are not going to have a successful sales strategy that is successfully executed. So that's what I would say, and my thoughts on growth and sales.
Absolutely. And I know you've got a track record of hitting some really impressive targets. So you're really skilled operationally, growth. But now I'd love to just hear, as we come towards the end, tell us about you as a leader and, being able to really rally the troops, get people behind a vision, and how do you bring your leadership values to drive change and results in companies?
Yes. So I have 5 key leadership values. My first one, Olivia, is one team servant leadership. What I mean by that is we either win together or we lose together. Whether I have had 2 people on my team or 5,500, the philosophy is still the same. I hold all my leaders accountable for not just what they're accountable for or responsible for, but also for, what is it that you have done to help your other colleague in what they are working towards. Because again, if one client model, if one client execution, if one client delivery fails, or closing one client fails because you, the partner in the ecosystem, didn't step up and do your thing, ultimately it will create cost pressures for you as well. So you are going to suffer. We're all going to suffer in this together, right? So having that one team mindset is really important. And my job as the overall leader is to ensure that I empower you, that I break the walls for you. I am here to serve you, be successful. That's my role. The second thing is accountability. I will hold you accountable. So even if it is a one team, I will hold you accountable for what you're responsible for. And I've made some hard decisions in my life for my leaders, right? If you don't perform, there has to be a response to that. But if you do great, then you need to be rewarded. Then you need to, be taken to that next level, because the rest of the organization and our clients will benefit from what you have to share with them. The third part is performance. And I type performance with this whole notion of KPI, data. How are we doing? Can we do better? Yes, we have competition, but I don't want to just compete with the competition. I want to compete with us. Can we do better than where we were? So let's measure against where we are, how we can get to that next level. That's the discipline that has helped me hit every single budget target that I have had in my career. The fourth most important one is relationship, internal relationships, how we treat each other, and external relationships, how we treat our clients. We all do a great job, right? We all do a great job managing up. There are very few people who don't manage up, but most people do. And great job with making your bosses feel happy. But how many of us have great relationship with our colleagues, treat each other with respect? How many of us treat people who work underneath 4 levels under us? That is as much important, because you empower, you create relationship across the rest of the organization. That is going to drive value for you as a human being. It's a satisfying thing, and it's really important for organizations to thrive. And the last and the most important, it doesn't matter that we are in healthcare, no matter where we are, it's integrity. We have to be honest, we have to be authentic to who we are, and we have to be authentic to all our stakeholders, to our shareholders, to our investors. We have to be authentic to our clients and the people that we serve. And it's especially important in healthcare. So those are my 5 leadership values.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom, insight, and experience. It's so valuable to any executive, but especially those in healthcare right now that are really trying to stay relevant and make an impact. So if anybody wanted to connect with you directly, what's the best way they could reach out to you?
Yeah, I mean, you can reach out on LinkedIn. It's Madhu Palkar, Madhu, and my last name is Palkar, P as in Peter, Alkar. Or, the other way might be just send me an email. My full name is a little different. M as in mother, ADHURA dot P as in Peter, ALKAR @gmail.com. I'm a very open book. I don't care whether you're a high title or not a high title.
I'd be happy to share and chat about things that are passionate to me. It's all healthcare.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure. I appreciate you making the time.
Thank you so much, Olivia. I really appreciate you having me here. And this was a lot of fun. And good luck with the rest of your podcast series.